Hey, Northpoint. This is John Floker. Adam Halleck is joining me. We today are creating this video to try to underscore the importance of reinforcing the Northpoint culture. Over 15 years, we've developed a culture that helps foster growth and positive relationships and profitability and overall success. And so we think that this culture, these cultural aspects are actually the driving force behind these things. And that's why Adam and I today are taking time to review these with you so that you understand what that culture is and you can help us to reinforce it at every level. So what Adam and I are going to do today is we've got 8 points. There's a lot of other things aside from 8 points that make up our culture, but these to us are probably some of the key ones. And we're going to take turns going over these. So I'll hit number 1, as you can see on the screen, accountability for your actions, humility to accept consequences, and commitment to improve. So, to speak to the antithesis, we've had managers in the past who are unwilling to accept or be accountable for their behavior or their mistakes. And if somebody will not even acknowledge a mistake, then how can they possibly overcome it? And that's why we think that the attribute of humility is so key to improvement. So what we expect in this culture is to take ownership of what you didn't do right. And as long as you do that, then you are following the Northpoint culture, and no one need be worried about being terminated, for instance. That's not. So as I was saying, the reasonableness of someone to accept that maybe they didn't make the best decision is very important to growth. And we've found that when people don't do that, the antithesis, that they're not only hard to deal with from an internal management standpoint, but they will not grow, and subsequently they don't make more money either. So, the ability to adapt and grow within the culture and the policies and procedures and the whole program as a whole is vital to your own profitability. And this is something I'd like to say that we know better than anybody, having run this company for as long as we have. Anything you want to add about that, Adam?
No, I think that's great. But, I think to move on to number 2, to extend the conversation about accountability, we also have to talk about, the manager's responsibility to put forth some hard work and to remain engaged. We don't really want managers sitting on the sidelines. You've heard John explain what happens when managers just wait for things to happen around them. They don't make more money. We want everyone to be engaged and to be putting forth the best effort. And we really don't want people to overdo it by becoming hotheads or lone wolves that can't take direction or really don't want to work within the boundaries and the structure that we've put together inside of Northpoint. We expect people to eat what they kill, to earn their keep. And it requires a specific and focused awareness of their responsibility to do the hard work and to remain engaged.
Right. And I don't know, for those listening to this, if you've ever been in a work environment or some sort of group where, you're working hard and other people aren't, it builds resentment within the community or the group. And that's why everyone should be working their hardest. It's not talking about skills. We understand that there's a wide range of different skill sets, but as long as everyone is engaged in doing their best, trying their hardest, that's what's expected, and that is the Northpoint culture. With regard to the hotheads and lone wolves, I think that ties back into the humility factor. Somebody who cannot collaborate with other people really doesn't belong in a business of any kind that requires a high level of people skills, and property management and real estate definitely is one of those. So jumping high level of communication, by this, we have found that it is so easy to assume things that aren't true. about other people, clients, tenants, your boss, your broker, other coworkers. It's very easy to become disillusioned by what you think they're thinking. People routinely think that they're mind readers, and and for this reason, we really emphasize the importance to open your mouth and explain clearly issues, concerns that somebody had, between each other in a relationship manner with coworkers, but with regard to their tenants and their owners. Explain them and be willing to gain insight from discussions from multiple minds. This is a very powerful concept and should be utilized, and it's not enough, especially in our day and age where, technology is facilitating communication in many regards, but in others, it's stifling communication. So that's why we say know when to put the keyboard down and pick up the phone. So, yes, it's easiest just to send a text. We understand that. Having to get on the phone with somebody, it takes more energy, just flat out. It can be awkward, but it's vital to professional business and progress. So, definitely if you can see that somebody on the other end of the computer is not understanding what you're trying to explain, or it's resulting in frustration, that's the time to put that keyboard down and get on the phone. This is in every single communication that you have, not just coworkers. This is with clients, tenants, everybody. And last but not least, and very, very importantly, we are a put it in writing culture. Everything. You want a record, especially, and that doesn't mean like, small talk conversations. That's not obviously what we're talking about. What we're talking about is important decisions that can bring liability upon you or Northpoint. If the decision maker, like the property owner, suddenly conveniently forgets about the conversation you guys had. So yeah, Adam, back to you.
Yeah, thanks. I think this is a really great and very crucial point to make around our culture. Setting expectations is really the best way to manage a relationship. In our business, we can go from benign problems to explosive problems very quickly. And because of that, it's important that we are, maybe more proactive than other industries. Moving on to number 4, in addition to working hard, we got to work smart. We got to be more proactive. We have to create more expectation setting. I think that our best managers are able to both organize their day and prioritize their problems, so that when problems happen, they don't just freak out. They have a plan, right? And they're able to take a big problem and break it down into smaller problems and solve those smaller problems one at a time. So, in working smart, be proactive, but also be punctual. One of the things that helps put gas on the fire is when you aren't responsive, whether it's not being responsive to a tenant with a legitimate maintenance issue, or an owner with a situation with their funding. Be punctual, be proactive. Think of that interaction as an opportunity to create goodwill and to create confidence between yourself and the tenant or the owner. These are prospective buyers and sellers, don't forget. We are, first and foremost, a preventative management culture. We don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive and preventative. John, do you have anything to add to that?
A couple of things come to my mind that I would like to add to that thought. So the first one is that, like Adam was just saying, if you are not responsive, it could be a relatively minor issue, and that will aggravate somebody beyond comprehension. However, if you have set expectations with that owner previously, that's the working smart part. They may never get there. They may know, hey, this manager does not answer his phone on the weekend or Sunday or whatever, or after hours, unless it's a total emergency. You've already set that expectation with them. That's working smart, setting those expectations. Another one is usually using tools that facilitate what you do, being willing to invest in the best practices, the best technology, And this kind of segues into number 5, operating like a pro. But before I go on to that, just, I need to underscore that we are a preventative management culture, which means you have to use your judgment. You got to use your noggin and think through how things are going to unfold because you've done it, because you've got a lot of experience in this. And set up a plan where you and the owners can win. Working smart does not necessarily mean being the most customer service friendly either. We think you need to be, courteous and kind and professional, obviously, but don't let the owners drag you around, in the ways that they want. You need to be smart enough to set expectations and boundaries. And how to do that needs to be done tactfully. So going into operating like a pro, all of these things, everything we're saying here ties into operating like a pro. And for many of you who have been in the company for a long time, you've heard me use the analogy of watching, the World Cup, where you see a pro soccer player flying through the air and headbutting a soccer ball on the goal, or like, kicking it upside down. This is what we expect of you, just plain and simple. You contrast that to seeing your nephew's 5-year-old soccer game and falling all over each other, looking around and getting distracted and not focused on the goals or not playing like a pro. Everyone in the company is at different levels and points along that scale getting to the professional level. And our plea to you is to practice and refine your game, utilize all the tools that we're providing you, the resources and methods to operate at the top of the bell curve. That's what we want Northpoint players to do. And I think that our online reputation is representative of that kind of culture. And so for those of you who might be, struggling in certain areas, then proactively seek help. That's why you have a regional manager. That's why we're here. Back to you, Adam. Anything you want to add to that before you go on to 6?
Yeah. So, we've all heard the saying that real estate is a relationship business, and real estate is local. You have a specific set of characteristics and personality traits that make you perfectly suited to your locality, right? So, it also means that you might have some tips and tricks that you've learned in your area, in your regions, and with your experience that are useful to other people. So don't be afraid to share those with others, and don't be afraid to ask others to share theirs with you. Moving on to number 6, we need to be willing to have fun and to joke around and to express frustration, to hear other people's complaints, but we really can't let things degrade into complete negativity, right? We are human beings. We're not robots. Again, we're creating relationships that are based on, performance and accountability. But I got to tell you, in every case, when I've seen negativity take hold of a situation, it has only gotten worse and never gotten better. Consider that focusing on the negativity and focusing on blame in a unfavorable situation is toxic. Negativity is toxic, and negativity is contagious. And we really shouldn't focus on blame. We should always be focused on solutions and on resolutions, on fixing problems and preventing problems. I can't tell you how useless it is to spend your time complaining about a circumstance that coulda, woulda, shoulda, when we could be spending that time, plugging the holes and righting the ship. We are a positive thinking culture, and honestly, it's that positive attitude that creates that engenders and produces more creative thinking. So I want you to be aware of that. That negativity is toxic, it's contagious. Positivity supports creativity and solutions. Positivity supports creativity and solutions.
Great, and I would add that I'm pretty confident that every single person understands what a toxic relationship looks like, feels like, and so I'm not saying that anybody has that in our company, but it's easy because we're dealing with so many different personalities and some very rough personalities, and situations that are just frankly ridiculous at times. It'd be easy to spend all your time lamenting about these things. And while it is entertaining to hear about certain stories, or to get something off your chest about a really crazy person you had to deal with, that's fine. We're not saying don't do that. Sometimes it's very therapeutic to do that. But what we are saying is to live at a standard that is above this stuff. Don't become like them by dwelling on it too much. And so that's where we're focused. That's what we want to be. A positive culture. We let it go. We move on. And when they think about how we dealt with, whatever issue it was, I'm hoping that they think in the back of their mind, wow, that person did not stoop to my level despite my best effort. So that's the type of people that I'm proud of and want to be a part of in our own company. So moving on to number 7, we've got one more after that. This definitely segues from number 6 about positive thinking. Don't speak destructively about other members of Northpoint. Address concerns directly head on. Be constructive in your feedback. There's a difference between discussing someone's weaknesses in a destructive way and a constructive way. Typically, to be honest, this is really at the root of gossip. Typically, if you're speaking constructive about somebody, it's because your job is to do so. You employ this person, and you've got to make decisions on, where to put them, what clients they should be managing, the decisions. That's usually on the constructive side. Or if you actually cared about them, you might bring up something they're doing and doing so in a way because you're concerned about the reputation it might be having on the greater company, which affects all of us. The destructive part is when you're doing it simply because you don't like that person, or because you feel you're better than them and you just want to gain recruits to join your cause that were against them. Just talking about them for fun in a negative way. These are destructive. They do nothing for them. They frankly don't do anything for you. And this is the type of thing we're trying to avoid. Back to you, Adam.
Yeah, I think that, John and I believe that Northpoint is a leadership incubator, right? And these point is a leadership incubator. And the comment that John has just shared really apply to those of you that have a lot more experience, who are able to mentor and guide others into more positive attitudes, right? Being constructive with your feedback. The truth is that at any stage or station within Northpoint, you are leading someone somewhere, somehow. If you're a brand new manager and you have vendors and you have tenants and you have owners, you're a leader to them. So, be mindful of the fact that your words matter and that people, look to you and your example and your attitudes, when they're judging your performance. And that leads us to our last item here, which is number 8. Avoid chasing short-term trends and focus on creating long-term opportunities that last. We have seen a lot of managers come and go who were trying to give us their own advice, but not take it, but who are unwilling to take advice based on the experience that we have here at Northpoint. We understand that the career path at Northpoint is not a one and done, 2-month cycle. It's, it can take a couple of years to develop this career. On creating long-term value by adopting and adapting to the new programs that we roll out. I think you only have to look at your peers within Northpoint to see that those are choices that are going to pay off. Yeah,
it's very hard to build a stable financial life on short-term trends because they change so frequently. And so, the pure mechanics people of trying to chase things that seem flashy but don't last, historically don't last, is typically a fool's effort. That's why we like to concentrate on the long term, because before you know it, we'll be in another recession. That is inevitable, and everything will flip. And so if you focus on the program that we've created, you will thrive during that recession. When it's very unfortunate, but many people around you will not. And so that's why we urge you to not become overly concentrated on, the result of right this second, but be ever working on a long-term plan that will generate strength and financial stability for you and your family long-term to come. So that's what Northpoint's focused on, and we remain concentrated on those things. Thank you very much for listening to us, and please join us in fostering this culture that we're very proud of. Thank you.
Thank you.